the way in southwest Greenland, a volcanic rock that is almost 4 billion years old lies on top of a sedimentary rock. Yes, a sedimentary rock. Within this deeper, older layer are carbon traces of the earliest known living organism. The oldest actual fossils date back 3.5 billion years. Discovered in Western Australia, they consist of chains of microscopic single-celled organisms that look like blue-green algae. It took a further 2.5 billion years before multicelled animals appeared on the planet, which was a letdown really. Anyways, we move on. Skipping all the way to the Ice Age of the late Ordovician period, the climate warmed up in the Silurian period, causing large ice formations to melt. This led to a major rise in sea levels, creating new marine habitats. Coral reefs formed over vast areas and fish increased in variety and quantity. This continued into the Devonian, when two main lines of fish appeared in the seas: the shark-like fish with their soft cartilaginous skeletons and the bony fish. Take a look at this fossil for example. It is from the remains of both rhyoliths. Fossils of this species have been found throughout the world, which is really why I decided to bring that up. These fish had lungs so that they could survive out of water for short periods of time. They lived mainly in fresh water and fed on the algae from the bottom of lakes. Fossils of ostracoderms, the earliest known vertebrates, also appear in the Ordovician and Devonian strata of Northern America and Europe. Most of them were heavily armored with bony plates and scales, especially in the head. These fish had mouths, but they were unable to bite or chew since they had no jaws. They probably fed by sucking up mud plus other debris and filtering it through their gills in order to extract food. The first jawed fish, the placoderms, appeared in the Silurian, which is 439 to 409 million years ago. And like our old friends, the ostracoderms, these fish were covered with bony armor. The Devonian period, which began 409 million years ago, is often called the Age of Fish. Many of the jawless fish were still living at this time, and the placoderms were plentiful. By the end of the Devonian period, there were two distinct evolutionary lines of bony fish. The first of these, the ray-finned fish, which diversified dramatically over time, and this group contains the majority of the fish alive today. The other, the lobe-finned fish, are represented today by only 6 species of lungfish. Back in the Devonian period, there used to be many species of this type of fish, and scientists believe that the earliest land vertebrates have evolved from this group. We move on, and so does life. For millions of years, life only existed in the oceans. Then around 450 million years ago, mossy plants began growing near water. Just 30 million years later, arthropods, which is a group that includes today's insects, spiders, and crustaceans, emerged from the water and fed on the land plants. During the Devonian period, amphibians came ashore to spend part of their lives on land. Reptiles evolved from amphibians in the middle of the Carboniferous period, and became the first completely land-dwelling vertebrates, or animals with backbones we shall say. Arthropods were highly adapted to life out of the water. By the time they appeared on land, they had already evolved light bodies and spindly but strong legs that worked against the force of gravity. In the Silurian period, centipedes, millipedes, and trigonotobids became the first arthropods to move onto land. The fossil record shows that these arthropods were joined by non-flying insects and spiders in the Devonian period, and were joined by land scorpions and flying insects in the Carboniferous period. Around 375 million years ago, amphibians became the first four-legged animals to move onto land and breathe air. However, the reptiles were the first vertebrates to make a complete adjustment to terrestrial life. They had two major advantages over their amphibian ancestors. One is the scaly, waterproof skin that provided protection and prevented them from drying out, and the other is the ability to lay their eggs on land. The early reptiles were meat eaters, but during the Permian period, many different species evolved, including the plant eaters. Some even returned to the waters. One group evolved into turtles, and another produced the snakes and lizards we all know of today. To be honest, there's just way too many animals and species that we have yet to go over. There's just too many living things that I will never be able to cover all of them up. At least not in a 6-minute video. There's just so much fish, so many vertebrates, insects, mammals, crustaceans, reptiles, monkeys, you name it! With 6.5 million species on land and 2.2 million in the oceans, which makes a total of 8.7 million species that we know of, let alone on this planet, and we haven't even made it to the plants. But let's leave that for the next few chapters, and I shall see you soon, mortals. Until next time.